What's up, citizens of Verra? Today I want to jump into a topic that's been floating around the community and was recently brought up again during Steven Sharif's interview with Pirate Software. The topic, you ask? Mount deaths. And should it be permanent? Yes, the idea that your mount could die permanently, love it or hate it, is something worth discussing. So today we're going to break down some of the pros and cons of such a system and explore why I believe this could be an essential feature in Ashes of Creation. The core of Ashes of Creation, at its heart, is a game all about risk versus reward. And while animal husbandry is still in the very early stages, we know that breeding will eventually become a central mechanic. This means rare and valuable mounts will emerge, making the stakes even higher. Now, for many of us, mounts are collectibles, each one being a really prized possession for a specific occasion. And that's great. But I do believe that mounts should have a finite lifespan determined by how many times they die in the world of Verra. And this is not a new system. Other games in the past have used this successfully. Classics like Ultima Online, where your mounts could be killed by players, monster, or other environmental hazard. If your mount died, the player often had to tame or repurchase another one, unless they had a resurrection scroll or put it in a stable to help protect it. Mortal Online 1 and 2 also had the very highly realistic system where mounts could be permanently killed if they suffered fatal damage. It's a significant blow when you require players to tame, breed, or find a replacement through the marketplace, making every mount that you have a valuable asset. Both Ultima and Mortal Online definitely integrated the mount taming and trading into their economies, and which really thrived as a result from them. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should have such a hardcore mechanic where you have a mount die and then that's it and it's done. I think the mount should have a finite amount of lives to them. So let's start breaking down some of the pros and cons. And one is going to be the increased value of your mount. Permanent death is going to transform mounts into more than just simple transportation, as especially depending on which one you get, they're going to become cherished assets. Especially if you've just gotten that mount that you have a skin from the shop and you want to keep for a long time. You're going to have to really choose on when and where you want to use this mount and bring it on out. With animal husbandry set to become one of the most complex artisan systems in probably any MMO to date, the need to replace mounts would definitely create a thriving market for breeding, trading, and selling, giving specialists in animal husbandry a consistent demand for their services. Enhanced immersion. Knowing that your mount can die is definitely going to add weight and realism to every decision. So imagine you're out there gathering and you see a weeping willow, which we never see, only to see your mount under attack and being gangbanged by a bunch of low-level grims. Do you save it, or do you finish gathering it and risk losing it to another player? Currently, you might let it die without any kind of a second thought, because there's no permadeath. But if there's a mount death system, every choice is going to matter. With the risk versus reward gameplay that Ashes offers, the system is definitely going to encourage players to think critically about when and where they use their mounts. Rare mounts in lawless zones, guild wars, or node wars would definitely add a lot of tension in strategic decision making. Are you trying to get away from a bunch of people? Are you going to break out your fastest mount and risk him dying just to make a getaway? With such a mechanic, we also would see innovation in mount mechanics. Developers could introduce protective gear such as mount barding, or specific skills or training mechanics to reduce the risk of death. This could add some customization and progression opportunities. Now on to some of the cons. Player frustration. Losing your beloved mount, especially one requiring significant time or resources to obtain, could lead to lots of frustration. This would be even worse if the loss were due to bugs or server issues or unfair mechanics. It's possible that some players might use this as a deterrent to do any kind of risky adventures, and they might avoid high-stakes content in PvP or sieges for fear of losing their precious mounts. While this could be mitigated by using less valuable mounts, it's a valid concern. Economic inequality. Wealthier players in larger guilds could replace mounts possibly more easily than solo players or newcomers, potentially widening the gap between casual and hardcore players, which honestly I'm okay with. Then of course we have the potential for exploitation. Griefers might target your mounts in PvP because they're easy to kill, creating some toxic behavior. Well, for example, maybe an animal husbandry player might create an altar to destroy some mounts, driving up the demand for their services. Steven's perspective in his recent interview mentioned that mount permadeath could add some spice, and I agree. I would like to see mount economy dynamic and prevent it from becoming stale. However, I proposed a balanced approach. I believe that, in my opinion, that mounts should have a limited number of deaths. Now, I kind of gave a high number. I gave 15 to 20 because I'm thinking long term here, long term of the game. Now, some people might feel that we need less, and some people might feel we need more. And you definitely want to leave that in discussion. And I would like to see some kind of indicator as the mount is approaching its final death. Some kind of visual indicator, i.e., a red border, could show its fragility, giving you clear warning that, look, this mount is about to go bye-bye forever. So this is the part where I'm going to ask you, Verra adventurers, where do you stand? Should mounts have a finite lifespan to keep the economy and gameplay engaging? Or how would you implement such a system? Or should your furry friends remain safe and sound in your stables forever? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to share your thoughts with Intrepid Studios. Thanks for watching, and may your caravans always find safe passage.